And we are back. It's another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today we are joined by former Michigan State and Indianapolis Colts linebacker, Mr. Josh Keur. How are you today, sir?
I'm well. I'm doing real well. Thank you for having me on the show. Tight end, not linebacker. I wish I was a linebacker.
Did I say linebacker?
Listen, I was probably have to be more athletic if I was a linebacker. So, I'm going to give those guys some credit. But no, I was a tight end.
Okay, yeah, tight end. I thought, I've been
no your worries, man.
Okay. Yeah, for those wondering, I have been smoking before the show as per usual. And the deal with Super Chats, we got some gummies. We got some gummies rocking in house, man. It's awesome. And I'm not going to lie, I can't remember exactly where I heard your name. Because for those who wonder the show, they're like, why is a, Michigan State tight end from the late 90s on the show? And the way I get guests is I don't have any AI I ask or anything like that. I just pretty much get high and just think of shit. And I saw your name on some thread on Twitter about big hitters or something. I looked you up. It's like, oh, this guy's got a presence out there. And I ended up emailing you and you hooked it up, man. So appreciate you coming out here. I wish I could have. And I was trying to find the thread, dude. I was looking for your name all day, like on Twitter or X they call now, trying to find the original thing I found it on. I could not fucking find it, dude. So it just drive me crazy. So it's great. We get to hear from the cat's mouth right here, so to speak. It's awesome.
Hey, I'm flattered to be considered in that conversation of big hitters, and I think I know what you're referencing. I think I saw the clip as well, so yes, I know what you're talking about.
That's awesome. All right, so legend has it you were born cutting down a tree in a sawmill in Muskegon, and then you started delivering the Muskegon Chronicle soon after that. First off, is any of this true? And if not, what are some of your earliest memories of 1970s and 1980s Michigan?
So the Muskegon part is true. And there was, in my day, there was actual paper boys, but I was not one of them. So I don't know about cutting down the tree part, but it's probably not too far-fetched, Joe, to be honest with you. Muskegon, Michigan, my hometown, my love. That's where I grew up. Muskegon Orchard View, my high school, my alma mater. Lots of fond memories. A lot of great people in Muskegon. I still go back as much as I can, and it's definitely Muskegon is why I am who I am today. Just great community who supported me all the way through high school, college, and then a little bit in the NFL as well. I still have folks that come up and ooze about my career, and I just again, I'm flattered that folks feel that way and that they followed me, and I was just a little white kid from Muskegon trying to live the dream, man. And I got to for a few years. So Muskegon was very good to me and still is.
That's awesome. What did your parents do for a living?
So my mom works for the county of Muskegon for youth services as a transcriptionist for an unbelievable 49 and a half years or something crazy like that. It doesn't happen anymore, right? And my dad worked for an organization called Muskegon Economical Growth Alliance. He worked with small businesses, assisting them with loans and all that kind of good stuff on the business end. Ended up retiring early due to some health issues, which was to my benefit. And Dad and I spent summers together, and lots of fond memories there for sure.
Good stuff, man. Now, did you learn to do a bunch of outdoorsy shit being up there? Because I looked at Muskegon and on the map. We'll get into my only memory here I really have about Muskegon here in a second. But did you do a bunch of outdoorsy shit? Or were you a city boy? What was your vibe growing up?
No, so I definitely, my neck is red, and all of my friends and my true circle of friends and I still exercise that redneckedness by fishing and hunting as much as possible. Waterfowl, that's my passion, Joe. I chase it as much as I can. I really enjoy all aspects of it, and now as I get a little bit older, taking a kid, training the dog, taking pictures is becoming cooler than killing the birds. But regardless, I've always enjoyed the outdoors, and yeah, I grew up on Lake Michigan, surrounded by water everywhere. So I always had a fishing rod in my hand. I was blessed to have a cottage in a little inland lake when I was a kid. So grew up catching bluegill and bass, and like I say, flexing that redneckedness.
Now, how much? Because we never had a cabin, a lake cabin, but my mom did when she was growing up. This was way before I was born. They had a cabin over here in Lake Erie. And from when you were little, in your memories, I'm sure you visited. You still live in Michigan, I'm assuming?
I do. I'm in Grand Rapids now.
All right, cool, Grand Rapids. Now, you go back to Muskegon now and then. That cottage that was there, How has that area changed in your opinion? Any erosion? Is it kind of the same? What's the deal with the original cabin that you guys had?
There's a lot more beach and less
Okay.
water on the inland lake that we were at. And then a ton of development, like anything, any areas like that are underdeveloped, if there's a body of water, have quickly become overdeveloped. So there's houses on top of houses, but I still do my best to visit it. And, I still love the area. If you go far enough north in Muskegon County, you can get away from everything and get out there where the air is fresh and you don't have to worry about any lights,
Heck yeah. Now, were you a baseball fan growing up? Do you remember what baseball teams did you root for back then? Were you a Tigers fan?
I was a Tigers guy. Yeah. I wasn't die hard, but I played baseball. And I didn't watch a lot as a kid, so I know that's sacrilegious, but I was a Tigers fan. I think like most Michigan kids, West Michigan kids growing up. But yeah, so I enjoy baseball, but it wasn't definitely not my favorite.
That 1984 Tigers team, man, that was the first memories I really had of baseball. And to this day, I can still name half that lineup. I mean, Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell and Lance Parrish and all those guys, and Kirk Gibson and Chet Lemon and all them. But it was wild because they went 35-5 to start the year. And I learned this is the stupid shit. We go back to newspapers. This is the stupid shit I used to remember from the newspapers. You're more of an outdoorsy kid. I'm more of a city boy, so kind of in the house a little bit more video games and whatnot. And because I was never a hunter, dude. I don't think I've ever been hunting, honestly. I don't think I've ever been fishing, really, like fishing seriously. I mean, we did something with the scouts where we put a rod in the water, but nothing really happened.
Sure.
But I had studied them stats, man. That 84's Tigers team just mind-boggling. 35-4 to start, or 35-5 to start the year. A great team, right?
Absolutely. Kirk Gibson, Spartan Dog, one of my Sparties on that team. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Kurt, and so yeah, that was an amazing team and an amazing run they had for sure.
Kirk, he was on? I think he was on the Dodgers when he did the point game, the Roy Hobbs game. What a great game that was. That may have been one of my favorite memories of 80s baseball. Was Kirk Gibson just limping around the bases, hitting the home run? It's great.
Calling a shot. Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Look, football, were you football? I mean, what team sports were you when you were growing up in the 80s? Did you just kind of casually follow it? You're mostly doing the outdoor stuff. What was the deal there?
I was a diehard Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls fan. I remember staying up late watching Michael and the gang when they were making their run from 91 to 96 or 97 there. And then I was definitely a Lions fan. I was more of a college football fan when I was younger, believe it or not, than I was a pro football fan. I was actually a Michigan fan when I was young. A lot of people on here, if they're watching or when they see this, they're gonna be mad at me, Joe. But I got to be real and honest here. A West Michigan kid, and that was in the Desmond Howard days, right? So I wanted to be Desmond Howard. I was convinced as a big, long, lanky tight end that I was a wide receiver, right? I was going to be a diva like that. Little did I know, but I got to be honest. That's who I watched, and that was a lot of my inspiration when I was younger. Are those kind of teams for sure?
Okay. And did you like the Thanksgiving game with the Lions? I always loved the Thanksgiving football, and the Browns haven't played on Thanksgiving since '89. I'm a big Browns fan, obviously, it was funny to me because it was always a tradition that I loved. I don't think any of my family liked it really because my parents, they watch football, every now and then, but they didn't really care like I did. My kids could give one fuck about football. So it's it was always something just for me, just to sit back and relax. And if I was drinking or smoking or whatever, just sit back, relax, and just do absolutely nothing and watch football all day. Cause I don't know what it is about Thanksgiving. I've never stuffed a turkey, prepared a turkey, any of that. Granted, I'm not the known cook, but man, it seems the women around me just always fucking seem to cook something. And I just enjoy the day. I think Thanksgiving is a very underrated guy's day for if you got the right people around you.
Absolutely. I mean, what you got to do is you got to be preemptive and get the right people around you, because you're right. You get the right football guys around you. It's a great day to be a football fan, football coach, etc. And also a food fan. I don't necessarily do a lot of cooking myself either, but I'm also surrounded by wonderful women who absolutely throw down on Thanksgiving. So I'm there with you, Joe. I appreciate and look forward to the Lions Thanksgiving Day game. I always have, even when although the tides have recently changed. Even when I was asking questions like, why are the Lions playing on Thanksgiving? They're not very good right now, but that's not the case anymore. So, I'm happy about that. And that's a great day, man. I usually hunt in the morning too. I get the best of both worlds. Football.
Oh, do you guys have? They don't have this around me because we're not a hunting area in Cuyahoga County, but like some counties in Ohio, by the Amish country and some southern Ohio a little bit, they will shut down the week after. I think it's Thanksgiving, whatever gun season is for the deer. Do you guys have anything like that up there?
In the areas around us, yes, it still exists. November 15th is opening day of rifle, and it is not uncommon for kids to either be excused or a remote school in these areas to not have school on November 15th, for sure. That's definitely not a myth. It exists, for sure.
All right. I'll harken back to the lumberjack thing. Go back to Muskingum real quick.
The
only main thing I know about Muskingum is that in 1982, the IHL Lumberjacks moved to Muskingum and came to Cleveland, became the Cleveland Lumberjacks. And Cleveland never had an NHL team, so I never really became a fan. Do you watch? I mean, there's a lot of frozen stuff up there. Was your area when you grew up? Was it kind of frozen? Was there a lot? It's obviously a lot more frozen than it would be today. But like, was hockey kind of anything up there for you, or was that just another thing?
So the lumberjack, I never played hockey because I remember my dad telling me that the equipment was really expensive, and at the rate at which I was growing, Joe, he wasn't willing to make that commitment. Plus, I was playing every other sport at the time. But the Lumberjacks, or the Muskegon Mohawks, I think is what they were before the Lumberjacks. I remember going to those games as a kid, and, holy cow, was that fun. It actually kind of made me interested in hockey. That's where it all came about. I had a friend who played under the Lumberjacks, for their club team, like their youth team that was sponsored by them. He got invited me to a game, and I ended up there, and I just fell in love with it. You got to punch people, and it was competitive, and I was all about it. I was like, Dad, sign me up. But no, I didn't get to do that. But I watched a lot of hockey, I guess it's semi-pro hockey there in Muskegon, and it's still ongoing. So it's a cool game. I have a mad respect and definitely enjoy, especially playoff hockey. Obviously, if the Red Wings are in it, that's a lot more fun for me. But just playoff hockey in general, when everything's on the line, boy, that's a lot of fun.
I was recently an Edmonton Oilers fan because of the boob flasher there. I'm not gonna show that now, but that was a nice set that girl had on there.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was a good set. I agree.
I mean, we could show it if people really wanted to. I'm not going to say anything if I accidentally hit the button and show the.
It happens. It happens. I mean,
sometimes your hand slips. Sometimes your hand slips.
I'm not mad at her. Yep.
It happens. It happens.
I heard she got an offer after that.
Yeah, but I mean, to do hardcore porn or something.
That's all it takes, Joe.
Right.
Put yourself out there, man. That too could be you. Think about it.
Think about this, Josh. All them people who are famous. To name the top 5 famous people today. How many of those people got famous because of a sex tape? The Kardashian name is in there. And how did she get famous?
It's not pretty, but it works, right?
Right. Great beat sex tape. Right. So keep that in mind. If you're a growing channel and you want to get out there, always keep that card in your back pocket, man.
Keep it available. Yep. You don't.
Right. Speaking of big things, I always get high when I do these questions, so some of them might be random, but since and I like to do things chronologically because that way, unless I keep fucking up, you know what I mean? But back in the 80s, did you ever know someone who had one of those gigantic 80s satellite dishes?
Oh, hell yes. I thought they were rich because we didn't have one. We had like the tower on top of your house. So if you had the satellite dish, oh my goodness gracious. You were rich, man.
Dude, I always wanted, and it's funny because like when I was a kid, I always thought that, those people were like the richest. Like if you remember that movie, The Great Outdoors, the character that, was on the credit card. I think it was John Candy played the fake one. That was always how the 80s was built. But I always thought that satellite dish was cool as hell. But then as I grew up, it's like the satellite dishes got smaller. And then now, I don't even watch TV barely. Football, that's about it. Right. So it's like what goes around comes around. We got a question from Mustang. He says, have you watched the Memorial Cup?
Have I watched the Memorial Cup? I have not watched the Memorial Cup. No. Is that bad?
I have not. I don't even know what the Memorial Cup is.
I'm saying, Joe, I was looking for you to save me there, bro, because I don't even know what I'm being asked.
All right, Memorial Cup.
I was going to say.
Memorial Cup, Saginaw, Michigan. Let's see here. Oh, it's a Canadian Hockey League tournament, CHL. The Memorial Cup.
No, I have not, but I think that would be a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, it says it's over now, but it's from May 24th to June 2nd. It's the 104th Memorial Cup Championship, which determines the champion of the Canadian National Hockey League. Okay. Yeah, and for the record, Mustang and everybody in the chat, I've tried to get some hockey guys on. I try to know some hockey, but my hockey knowledge is like about as much as the Gilded Age knowledge at this point. I don't really know much about hockey, like Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and that Ovechkin kid, and that's about it.
Mine's just behind Joe. I'm a little worse than him, so yeah.
All right, let's see. All right. This is a random ass question.
All right.
In Muskingum, when you're growing up there, right in the lake, right?
Yeah.
You got Chicago to the south, Milwaukee to the west there. Mm-hmm. What were your main and like NBC, CBS affiliates and all that?
Holy shit. Really? What is this? Am I Rain Man? Like, I have no idea. Are you kidding me? Channel 13, Channel 8, Joe? I don't know. Holy shit. No idea, man. I just turned the TV on. Are you kidding me? Local affiliates.
Well, like at night when you would watch
WCZM, there you go. There's one.
Well, at night when you would watch the news, like what city would the news come out
of? Detroit, Grand Rapids.
Okay. So Grand Rapids must have a Philly. Because I was looking at the map, I was like, geez, I wonder where the Phillies are. Because it reminded me, because my cousin Kevin on my mom's side, they all grew up, well, their whole family grew up in Kalamazoo. But my cousin Kevin went to school with Derek Jeter in high school.
Okay.
That's the only reason I remember that. But the only reason, and that's the only reason I bring that part up is because I remember WGN, the Superstation Chicago.
Oh yeah.
When I was at my Aunt Barb's house, that's Kevin's mom. They had that on their cable package, and that really struck me as odd because I didn't know it was like you could get that outside Chicago. And the fact upon that, my first televised appearance was on 1985. The Bows with the Clown Show. I was in the audience with my friend Mike Kittler. Who's probably not watching. I still talk.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, you're a lucky guy. You made it to this show. Did you get to toss balls in the buckets and do some shit like that?
No, I just was I was in the audience. So I didn't get to like go on stage or anything like that.
Still,
and I got my picture with Cookie the Clown. I remember that. I don't think I got my picture with Bozo. That picture's gone. I have no fucking clue where it's at. My parents are gone, and now the photos are probably gone. So that's just all up here. It's gonna die. That information's gonna either die with me, or if somebody watches this on YouTube, 20 years from now, and they'll pull it up or whatever. But at what point did you like realize when you were growing up that you were like athletic and like good at sports, that kind of shit?
So I played every sport and I was an outdoorsy guy and I was a lot bigger than everybody. But it really didn't dawn on me probably till my sophomore year. You got to remember I graduated high school in 94. So the internet didn't exist. I'm dating myself, but you went to camps and social media didn't exist either. So you didn't get to read about yourself. You didn't know where you stood. You didn't know what any coaches thought about you. None of that stuff happened. So I just worked hard, and, I had a couple great coaches in my life. John Shillito, who was my high school coach, who's still coaching. He's been coaching for 47 years or something like that. He's at Zeeland West here in Grand Rapids area. Anyway, he kind of enlightened me to the fact that, hey, Josh, you got a 20-inch neck as a 15-year-old sophomore, and you might be able to go to school for free and play football. And credit to my mom and dad, they were preemptive in getting me out to the big exposure camps, I guess is what they were called back then, which was U of M, MSU. We flew to UCLA. We did in Indiana. I mean, we were all over the place because that's where all of the colleges were at. But I really didn't know it until after my sophomore year. I won an MVP at MSU and the Michigan camps, and it started dawning on me like, I played basketball, I ran track, and I hadn't fallen in love with football yet. I loved football, but I didn't know it was going to pay the bills, so to speak, and send me to school until then. So that's when it dawned on me.
Okay. If you were to, not go to the football route, would you think you'd play basketball? What sport would you probably played in high school or college?
If it wouldn't have been football, it would have been a lower level of basketball or probably track. I would have been better off. I was a combination of Bill Lambier and Dennis Rodman, Joe. So I was not a finesse basketball player. I was a football player who played basketball, right? So, okay. But I was state champion in the discus, and I ran pretty well, and I could have thrown at Michigan State, but I wanted to play football. So if I didn't play football, I probably would have been track.
Okay. We got a question from Mustang. He says, have you ever caught, cleaned, and cooked a turtle?
Yes, absolutely have. Have had turtle soup. I've been part of that whole process, and yeah, it's actually really good. I don't seek them out to do it, but I did do that once. Speaking of the cottage, when I was a kid, we did it up there.
Okay. Turtles are one of those things, man. I don't know. I'm not, I don't know. It's a weird thing to say because I was in the service, but I don't really like killing things. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's vermin, like, I don't get me wrong. If there's something like some kind of thing trying to get into the garage or whatever, I'm definitely killing it. But I'm just not a big killer. And, you know, it would be hard for me to kill a little tiny turtle. I mean, I don't know.
Well, this was a great big snapping turtle that got ran over by a car, Joe. So there you
Oh, it's already dead. Okay. That's
so
all.
we didn't leave it there to rock. So anyway, that's how that
Not
went.
trying to call you.
Yes, you are.
And for those wondering, yes, I will be in the Virgin Islands July 17th to the 22nd and we'll hopefully looking at some turtles down there. So meet us down there. Nobody ever comes when I tell about the Virgin Islands because nobody can afford to go down there. It's ridiculous. Now, you played Pee Wee football, and back then I'm sure you guys did play defense and offense, right? Even going into high school, maybe, because I remember I played a couple years of football high school. You know, like they had, you know, your defense position, your offense position, whatever. Was your school big enough to where you didn't have to do that, or were you playing both up to a certain level, certain grade level?
All the way through high school. I was tight end, wide receiver, and then a middle linebacker defensively. When I was, I think my freshman and sophomore year, I was a safety, but they used me down in the box like a backer. So linebacker, tight end, you know, kind of goes hand in hand. Same body types. When you get to the higher levels, you see what I'm talking about. You can kind of look at and go, there's the linebacker, tight end group because we're all kind of built the same. So yeah, I was a two-way player. If I had it my way, I would have played special teams in high school too, but that wasn't happening. Coach was pulling the reins back there, right?
Did at some point did you start thinking you were better at one end or the other, and what decided you ultimately go with tight end?
Yeah, I knew I was an offensive guy. I was just more passionate on the offensive side of the ball, and I fell in love with catching the football. So, you know, that's really why. I didn't dislike defense. I enjoyed it playing it in high school, but man, the whole passing game, especially for a tight end, you know, I certainly prided myself on being a tremendous blocker and did a good job of that. But getting a chance to catch the ball and be a big guy, you know, it's every old lineman's dream. And that's really what we are as tight ends is, you know, hybrid linemen. So I think that's why I just fell in love with that part of it.
I wanted to be a tight end so bad. I was actually, I'll remember this like yesterday. Freshman football, there was 4 of us going out for tight end. I was the fastest out of that group. I was like, you know, I'm a bigger guy, fat and all that shit. But I was the fastest out of that group before. But man, when it come time to catch that ball, I was like fucking Greg Little, dude. I was stone hands, man. I was dropping everything. So they threw me on the line. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really like O-line. Because, like, I hate to remember blocking schemes and all that. Because, like, defense, you put you out there, you just basically do whatever. You got to get the quarterback. The old John Facenda thing, get the quarterback. Right. Get the man. You know what I mean? That was easy. And fucking offense is like, I got to pull and I got to do this. There's a different stance for pass blocking and run blocking. And I didn't want none of that shit. But, yeah, then I was the special teams guy because, I mean, I really wasn't, like, I didn't like working out, to be honest with you. I hated working out. I really did. I was always like looking at guys like you, like, oh, this is how my life could have been if I started working out, you know.
Hindsight 2020, as they say, right?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, too. I mean, would I ever play at D1 level? Who knows? I mean, I would have to have a serious work ethic. I probably could play for like Grand Valley State or some shit, maybe NAIA. Who knows? But at what year in high school did you start varsity?
So I started as a sophomore. I think I got moved up for a couple games as a freshman, but then the whole season as a sophomore.
Okay. How'd your teams do? Did you guys win any like regional titles, state titles, shit like that?
We made it to my junior and senior year, we made it to the regional finals 2 years in a row and lost to the eventual state champion. So that was as far as we went. Conference champs, I think we went 10-1 or 11-1 both my junior and senior year. So we just kept running into the wing T buzzsaw back there, and we weren't quite good enough to stop it. So
wing T, good old wishbone, and then the good offense. That's a good ass random question. What obscure old offense have you ever played? Like, you know, the old NCAAs or the old Maddens or anything like that, like really old offense, would you like to run? Like the wishbone, anything like that? Anything with just Maryland I formation, anything like that would intrigue you? I always would love the Browns just like come out the wishbone. That'd be badass.
I'm gonna give a little shout out to my boy Joe Tanis up at Hart. I think running the single wing would be a lot of fun. We run where I'm at now. I coach at Wayland Union High School in Grand Rapids here, and we run the flex bone triple option. So I really enjoy that, especially at the high school level. I think it's very difficult for folks to prepare, and there's a lot of things you can do. You can be creative with those offenses. So.
Well, I think that triple option develops a quarterback. I mean, if you got a triple option guy who could pass, that really can develop a nice young quarterback. Because you learn how to scramble just every formation. You're going out right, going out left. You can learn how to hand off, learn how to pitch. And if you can learn how to throw on the run, that's a great development offense for a quarterback, in my opinion. So solid there. Good stuff, Absolutely. Man. All right, now think of the movie Varsity Blues, right? I'm sure everybody's our age has seen Varsity Blues. We're the exact same age. I'm 47 too. I was class of 95. So you were like 3 months older than me. I think your birthday is like almost the exact same birthday as Tom Brady. I think you're like a year older than Brady. Which is wild, right? That's wild, right? You could imagine playing right now like you're still playing the NFL.
No. Listen, I said that his last few years. I'm like, listen, I'm sore getting out of bed, y'all. I don't know how in the world he's doing it. You know, they pick on him about his diet and all those things, but whatever he was doing was working. That's all I know.
Now, well, before I get into the Varsity Blue stuff, did you ever – because I was trying to look it up. I didn't see Brady on the stat sheets. Were you ever on the other team when Brady was playing Michigan State or no?
Yes, but I believe he didn't start. Greasy, I think, was starting in front of him because I graduated. I was a 97 graduate, which was their national championship team with Woodson. And I'm almost positive that was Greasy, right?
Yeah, Brian Greasy.
So I think he was on the sideline as a backup, which is funny to even say out loud, right?
Right. But, isn't that wild to think about? Think about this, guys. Tom Brady, most people know who Tom Brady is. The guy to my right, your left, is actually starting in a game when Tom Brady was on the sidelines, like just waiting to chill. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, he went on to be in the league forever, and I had a cup of coffee. Yeah. So yeah, it's a crazy deal. You never know. Never know.
All right, well, think of the movie Varsity Blues, then think of your high school football experience. Could be any sport you played in high school, and then compare the two.
Okay, so I'm comparing the two?
Yeah, like did you guys have any banger parties? Was there any kind of shenanigans? What was the deal, man?
Absolutely. I mean, we weren't laying in the middle of the road, you know, like the one movie and letting cars try to run over us or anything like that. But I mean, absolutely, we had amazing parties. My buddies that are close to me still, my kids call them their uncles. We still hang out and do those things, but it was definitely comparative. We were, you know, of the generation, we were having bonfires in the woods and the cops were breaking it up and we were all running through the power lines, you know, living the good life, in my opinion. I definitely had a tweeter on my high school team for sure, like everybody did, right? And a Billy Bob, no doubt about that. So, yeah, I mean, I got to live that, which I love that movie, and I had a heck of a good time living it myself, no doubt about it.
That's awesome. I got to give you a factoid about the movie. I had on the running back from that movie. His name is Lyle Swinton. He played football at Stanford for a little bit. He's a little bit older than us. And he said in the beginning part of that movie where they got Bacon the pig in there, he said the first pig jumped out of the truck when they were driving at 30 mile an hour, just took that shit. They didn't say nothing about it. It was great. Yeah, we had some. What was your underage beer of choice for high school? I drank St. Ides, which in hindsight was a bad decision because that's like 8.3% high gravity shit, and I used to pound that shit like it was going out of style. Because I would take a $5 bill, I get 2 40s of St. Ides and a box of Marlboro Reds. I go up to the park. That was my high school years, and that kind of killed the '90s for me. Josh, what was your beer of choice?
So I do remember some Old English. I do remember some Mad Dog 2020. And then the worst hangovers I ever remember in my life ensued after drinking those two things. But yeah, those were probably the two that stick out the most to me for sure. They were cheap and available.
That was some degenerate fucking shit. Like we talk shit about, you know, millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha and all this other crap. Dude, I don't think people realize how degenerate Mad Dog and St. Ives and OE were. That was just some foul shit. Like, I don't even know. I like gag thinking about it. Like, it was just fucking heinous, bro.
It was
My
bad.
goodness.
It was bad. I'm surprised it was legal. I think somebody made it in their bathtub.
Well, the thing was back then, everybody nowadays is like, what the fuck are we talking about? But back then, you could just walk in the store. I had a mustache. I looked like I was fucking 28. You know, they didn't give a shit. They're like, here you go, Mr. Joel. Have your beer. Fine by me. Shit, I go to the store every time, man. Fuck it. Now, when did you start being recruited for NCAA football? Like, at what point of your career?
At the end of my sophomore year, really, is when it really opened up, and it was crazy. We had to get an additional container for our mailbox because I would get, there was no email, right? So it was all letters, and they would send you every document they could think of with all these flyers and stuff on the universities. So it started then, and my mom, bless her heart, kept all of those over the years, and I still have boxes and boxes of all these old recruiting letters that are fun for my kids to look through for sure. But yeah, I started my sophomore year.
That's awesome. I just randomly thought that if you ever do a live stream yourself or you become a live streamer, you should do an episode where you just read all the old random recruiting flyers. That'd be great.
They made me feel great about myself. Every one of them tells me how good I am, man. It's awesome. I need to pick me up. I just read those.
Now, what besides Michigan State, did you take any other official visits?
Yes. So Indiana, Illinois, U of M, MSU, those are the four. And then I was scheduled to go to Wisconsin, and I didn't go because once I went to, I'll be transparent. I thought I wanted to go to U of M, and I got to U of M, and they had Reamersma and Tooman. Mark Campbell was in the same class as me, who all ex-NFL tight ends, I believe.
Mark Campbell. I remember Mark Campbell.
Yeah. So, when I went there, they were honest with me, and they said, we're going to redshirt you. You may see the field as a redshirt sophomore. So 2.5, 3 years later, I went over to MSU. Bob Organ was a senior at the time, and they said, we think you can compete for playing time right away. I was an hour and a half closer to home, had an opportunity to start in the Big Ten as a 17-year-old freshman, and it ended up happening. So I made the right choice and was blessed to do so. But yeah, I'm now that I'm a coach and kids that I'm coaching are going through this, I encourage them to take full advantage of that and soak it all in, because those are great memories for me. And I got to see and do a lot of cool things through that recruiting process that a lot of people don't, and I appreciate that now. I maybe didn't necessarily as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, but now, man, the memories. So I definitely encourage that.
But speaking of how it is now with this NIL stuff, for those overseas, NIL stands for name, imaging, and licensing. Basically, college athletes can now get paid by whoever, pretty much. What does a school like Michigan State realistically have to do to compete with like Michigan State, to lesser extent Ohio State? Just not that Michigan State's a bad school, but no, year over year, the Big Ten title winners typically Michigan or Ohio State. It's in the fact. What would it take? And do you think just would take like Magic Johnson coming in? Hey, here's $80 million to recruit. Would it take something like that? Do you think there's a way to do it? A path forward for Michigan State in this new era?
Well, I do believe that there's a path forward. I was extremely excited about our last coach and was open about that excitement. And obviously that didn't work out for us. So, throwing money at someone and throwing money at a program isn't always necessarily the answer. Is it necessary in today's climate? Absolutely, especially like you say with the NIL stuff, because now we're talking about the players making, in some cases, more than the coach. So I think that there is a path back, and I think Michigan State's on it. When I was just over there, I said to my wife and friend, Coach Smith gives me Coach D'Antonio vibes. He's a humble, hardworking guy. He's not flashy. He knows what kind of kid he wants to recruit, and he knows that not every kid, as you just said, is going to want to come to Michigan State. So it's going to have to be for the right reasons, and it's going to have to be the kind of kid that wants to stay there, right? Because we are not, at this moment, a huge, attractive program just because of what's happened. Now, we also know 1 year can change all of that. So hopefully that's the case. But I do think that they're back on track. I'm excited about the guys that have transferred in. I think Coach Smith and staff have done a great job. I got a couple Spartan dogs on staff with Courtney Hawkins and Demetrius Martin. So that in and of itself, knowing that those guys are there, gives me ability to kind of have a sigh of relief, because I know, the kind of men they are and how hard they work, and that they're both great recruiters. So
good stuff. Yeah. Now, you were recruited by George Pearls, it looks like, right? And then he was let go, and you guys stole Nick Saban from my beloved Brownies. But then they moved, and that's a whole different show. But obviously, Nick Saban 1995 is a little bit different than Nick Saban like 2020 or so Nick Saban. But did you have any idea at the time that he would go on to have a career like he had? Like, I mean, arguably the best coach in college football history, if not top 3. I mean, and at the time, you got him right at the beginning of his college coaching career. What was that? And was there any kind of luminescence, transcendence in your eyes, or at that point, was he just another George Pearls?
So, good question. It was a complete 180. From Coach Perlis' staff to Coach Saban's staff, the only thing I benefited from, I guess, if anything, was that my position coach, which Pat Shermer, remained. And he was also, so when Perlis left, Pat remained as my tight ends coach. Other than that, nothing about it was smooth or similar. I mean, we went from an optional lift weekly to, Ken Manny and Nick Saban and 3 workouts a week before class, and, and the things that you need to do to be great. But at that point, we hadn't been exposed to it. So it was a night and day difference. And to answer your question, did I realize that I was in the presence of that kind of greatness? No, I don't think any of us did. Right. But I mean, we certainly do now. I was talking to a couple of my teammates, and, you look at him and his whole staff, that everybody that has worked for him has gone on to do something big. And so, no, I didn't realize it. We knew he was an amazing football mind. We knew that he was going to get us where we wanted to go as far as winning a Big Ten championship at Michigan State. And then if we had aspirations to go on past and play in the NFL, we knew he could get us NFL ready. But no, there's no way I would have known years later there'd be a statue of him in Alabama. And, no, I didn't know all of that.
Did he ever reference his time in Cleveland or use that as motivation? Like, at least you guys aren't in Cleveland.
All the time. Things of that nature would come out, and he would talk trash about, like, defensive players that he coached in Cleveland, who I didn't even know who the hell they were, Joe, right? But, yeah, Coach Saban was consistently talking shit about the Cleveland Browns. I will give you that, yeah.
That makes me hate Saban a little more. Not that I don't know. I'm ambivalent to him. You got to recognize greatness, but I mean, he's an SEC guy, and I'm a Big Ten guy, so you know how that goes. We got to stick together in this territorial era.
Right.
If we ever have a civil war and the country split up in Big Ten territory, it's going to be violent. Them games, son, violent.
No question about that.
Now, speaking of violence, this is a random transition, but was there a culture shock in music when you got to high school and to college? Was it like you were listening to all Iggy Pop all the time? Iggy Pop was from Muskingum. People didn't know that. Or to go to like straight up Dr. Dre and Tupac. How was that? Was there any? I mean, because like up in Muskingum, you're a country boy. You're up there in Old Redneck territory, and then you get in East Lansing. You got a different vibe. You're working with quarterbacks, wide receivers, all these different cultures and shit like that. And I'm sure the music, I don't know, any football locker room I've ever been to has been nonstop rap music. Was that a culture shock to you, or did you just kind of like already listen to rap music? What was the deal there?
So I definitely, I had my rebellious days as a youngster and listened to NWA and Eazy-E, right? But it was a definite culture shock, Joe, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I went to a very white Orchard View High School in Muskegon, Michigan, and all of a sudden, when I ended up in the Michigan State locker room, I was the minority, and it gave me a perspective on life that I don't think I could have otherwise have, and I feel so blessed. The music, was it a shock? Yeah, but I soaked it up, man. I absolutely loved it. I never really liked country music or Iggy Pop. I'm not hating on Iggy. I like some of his stuff, but I wasn't a hardcore fan by any means. So I fit right in with that, and really enjoyed it.
Now, did you have a side in the East Coast versus West Coast beef? Like, were you a Pac guy and Dre guy, or were you like a Biggie and whatever guy?
I don't know that I took a side, but I mean, if I had to, I probably going with Pac. Pac was my guy, man.
I mean, in hindsight, you kind of have to, seeing what Diddy was all about, right?
I'm saying that's Now you say you put it that way, it's Pac all day. You're right.
All right, now it says you were I read that you were the record holder for most games started in a row at tight end for Michigan State. Is that part correct?
That is correct.
All right, so this means you started as a freshman. Now, you said you were harping on that earlier. You started as a freshman. Now, you knew this going into camp, correct? Or was there a couple guys you had to beat out for that role?
So I knew that I could compete for starting or for playing time. I didn't know that I would start because the senior or the tight end there, Bob Organ, was a senior when I was a freshman. So, and as you said earlier, I was a really young freshman. I was 17. What ended up happening was I played in every game, and I started because we started with 2 tight ends. So we played Kansas, I believe, and then we played at Wisconsin. And when we were at Wisconsin, the starting tight end broke his back. So game 3 was in the big house, and that was my first string official solo start was there. So that was quite an experience. So, even though the coaches told me, hey, we think you could play right away, I didn't know if that was going to be the case. It was like, you say you knew going into camp. All I knew was I had to go perform. I really didn't know what my playing time would look like at that time. I knew it was a highly competitive environment, and there was 6 guys, I think, in the tight end room at that time. So I knew I had to go bust my tail and do something. It ended up working out for me.
Well, that's a good transition because I was just going to talk about the Paul Bunyan Trophy. For those overseas, we got a huge UK contingent that listens to us. I'll have to explain a couple background things before we get into the question because they won't understand any of it if we don't. But the big house he's referring to is the University of Michigan Stadium. It's the biggest stadium in the entire continent of the United States. It can seat 111,000 people. I went there once a couple years ago, me and this dude, and it's crazy, man. I mean, I won the tickets at VetTix, and VetTix is a service where they give veterans tickets if they're available. And they were playing like Eastern Michigan or whatever. I'm not a Michigan fan, so I don't have any Michigan stuff. So I just wore like a neutral shirt or something. And I was probably the only person in the stadium dressed like that. But it was a surreal experience. I mean, they got the bowl. We were like row 95 or some shit. It's just one continuous bowl. And it goes all the way around. Kind of looks like Soldier Field for those who remember that. Just so big. And obviously Michigan State and Michigan are rivals in college football. So they play for a trophy called the Paul Bunyan Trophy. And you said your first game was against Michigan, or your first starting game. I looked at, these were the years you were there.
Correct.
So it's like the first year you were there, you lost, and you won it the second year. And these are some ranked ass Michigan teams, though. Those are some.
Really they were very good when I was there. Yes, sir.
But was winning that second year, you were a sophomore. It looks like, was that an important moments in your career? Actually, winning a Paul Bunyan Trophy, in your opinion, was that high up ranking? One of
the best memories in my life. Tony Banks to Nigeria Carter in the snow. Yeah, that it's like I try to explain it to people because they're like, why do you hate them so much, and why is it blah blah blah, and it's it's like anything else. It's like the Bloods and the Crips to an extent. When you're a young kid and you go in there and all the upperclassmen are telling you how much they hate this school or that school, you buy in, especially me, right? Starting as a young guy, I definitely drank the Kool-Aid and jumped on board. And so, yeah, I hated them. So winning at home and oh man. And then afterwards there was couches burning galore, Joe. It was awesome, man.
Now, did you get a little trinket for that? Like at Ohio State, and when they beat Michigan, they got little gold pants or something. Did you get something like that? I don't know. What was the deal there?
I think we got a ball of some kind, and my mother has it, like how they paint them and put the score.
Okay, now is that
a big deal, man? A great memory for me.
Oh fuck, dude! Hey, going into the biggest stadium in the country and winning the game, or not winning that game, but next year winning. It's mind-boggling.
So then I played with Glenn Steele when I was in Indianapolis, and he just rubbed salt right in the wound, talking all kinds of shit. That had to be the toughest sounding defense ever. If you look at the names on that 97, Sweat, Weathers, Iron, like just crazy names too. And they walked it. They didn't just talk it.
Now, was all things considered, is that the most memorable college win for you? Or if not, what would be?
That one's right up there. 97 beating Notre Dame at their place is right up there. Penn State at home my senior year, which was 97. Those would probably be my top memories. Loudest stadium, I would say Ohio State. They did they do the "We Are Ohio," and when they did that, I was standing in the huddle, and my face mask was vibrating on my helmet. It was so loud in there.
I've been to games at Ohio Stadium. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care for it too much because it was built so long ago. I can't tell you the exact year, but it was built in the 20s, maybe 10s or something like that.
It is old, yes.
I'm just a civil servant, the humble middle class guy from the Midwest, dude. I can't afford sideline seats. I'm not like a mega booster. You know what I mean?
Right,
the seats I gotta sit in are fucking all cramped and aisle-y and shit. And I'm a tall guy like you, dude. Flying and shit like that is rough for guys that are 6'3" and higher, dude. It's a short man's world,
travel.
bro. It really is. Yeah. It's horrible.
We are not built for commercial travel. I'm with you, man. This is very, very true.
Now, you played in college with some hogs, bro. Plaxico Burst. We'll get back to Burst in a second. I like Plaxico. Derek Mason, Tony Banks, you just said, Mushin Muhammad. Was there a player that had a career that really surprised you later? Like, you thought they're going to be like, okay, and they just fucking blew up. Somebody they played with, watched when you were, playing against them, something like that.
We're talking teammate of mine?
It could be a teammate, even just a guy you watched in college, you played against, something like that.
You said one of them, and that's Musin. I mean, I knew Musin was a freak of nature athletically and physically because 6'3" guys that are 190 pounds don't bench press 450 pounds, and Musin did. So, good luck, DBs, right? And I knew that even as a young man, but I didn't know because he had some off-the-field stuff if he would end up being successful at the next level, and he was, and had an amazing career and has gone on to do amazing things. So Musin's right there at the top for me, I would say for sure. Otherwise, I know so many guys that went on and did great things. And one guy's name that I'm going to throw out there, and he's a nobody, I guess, in the big picture of things, but was in the NFL forever. And I just spoke to him, is Brad Banna. He was a long snapper in Indianapolis when I was there, went on and snapped in Detroit, I believe in Tennessee. And kids, if you're listening, learn to long snap because that is the gig, man. There's definitely pressure. You don't want to snap it over anybody's head, but nobody knows your name unless you do. So you can quietly make millions for 20 years in the NFL and you don't get beat up. So be a long snapper.
They got long snapper camps now.
Reincarnate me as a long snapper, sir. I'm in.
Right, ask any Browns fan, they'll tell you the long snapper's name. Even the guy before, Ryan Pontbriand, that's a throwback name for you. All right, we got a couple highlights now.
Ooh,
I want you to set these up. The first one, hold on, I gotta get through all the titty ones. Okay. All right, the first one is a Notre Dame game. Now set this touchdown versus Notre Dame up. What was you guys were in a goal line formation? Was the play call to you? What was the play call in the huddle?
So we had driven down Notre Dame. We stopped them on their first drive. We're driving down the field. Coincidentally, I caught the ball before this play on a little hook, and the call was wide delay, which is, as a tight end, is like one of your favorite calls ever. What I noticed when I watched the film is usually on wide delay, the tight end blocks and then spins out and releases. And what happened during the game was the linebacker did not rush me. So I just kind of did this little funny dance at the line and released to my route. And I was open. Schultz threw me the ball. So that was the first score of the game and was a big deal for us. And obviously we went on to win that game. So,
all right, so here we go.
He throws to the end zone, and Keur is in for a touchdown. He hits his tight end on a rollout. A beautifully executed drive by the Spartans, and Michigan State takes the ball right down the field, and Notre Dame, which came out a mile high, looked like it was a national championship game the way the Irish were up and down. Now are rocked back on their heels again, on the ropes early, and the Irish will get the ball and have to answer. We come back to South Bend.
Right in front of the band, too. How cool was that?
Busted my ass right in front of the band, man. I'm trying to get up and celebrate, and there was carpet on the sidelines. Notre Dame was grass then, so when I jumped up with my cleats, I'm trying to stand up. I keep falling down, but great memory. Memory.
Did you just kind of, whatever heck with your teammates. I mean, obviously, this is a different era now. They could choreograph shit, but in your head, did you ever have any choreographed touchdown dances, or did you ever do any in high school or in your career at all? Did you ever do any kind of crazy dance or anything random after a show that you or after a big play you planned?
Like in high school, I might have showboated on a few occasions, but in college, I was just happy to be there. I'm not going to say I didn't talk shit to people when I played football. I definitely did, but you know, I had no business talking too much because I was just trying to survive. So, you know, I had fun with it, and a lot of guys do, but it was anything crazy, that's for sure.
All right, the second play is against Northwestern. Looks like you guys are in like the 20 or something like that. Set this play up. What was the call here, and how did this transpire?
So for you football guys out there, this is it's why smash is the play call here. I don't know what happened this game, Joe, but for some reason Northwestern decided not to guard me. I had 11 catches for 110 yards, I think, and 1 or 2 scores in this game, and this is one of the scores. So this is just a corner route by me. The outside receivers run a little hook, and for whatever reason, the linebacker bit and the safety bit on the hitch, and I ran the corner. As you'll see, I tried to drop it. I bobbled it a little bit there. My claim is that the linebacker safety touched it at the end. That's what I told my position coach in the meeting. But I'll tell you the truth. I bobbled it, but I scored, so that's all that matters.
All right, let's take a look.
Recovered by Robert Smith. Let's see if Michigan State can take advantage. 3rd and 4 at the 24. In motion, Cedric Urban. Reese the lone setback. Schultz to throw. Over the middle. It is. Touchdown, Michigan State. By Josh Keur. Josh, he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan State. Now there was a great call again by Gary Tranquil and the offensive staff. Charlie Baggett. They ran the wide receivers on quick out routes, on short routes. They took the tight end and ran him right down the middle. He was being in a man-to-man situation, covered by a linebacker. And Keur, an excellent basketball player, can outrun any linebacker.
The basketball skills, they're lying about my basketball skills, by the way, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Wide open. That's great. That's great. All right, now it says you made 1997 All Big Ten second team. I looked at that team, and I found a connection between me and you. There was a guy on the second team, played for Penn State, and they played for Browns. I think the Bucs. His name was Joe Jaravicious, and he was on the opposing sideline in 1992. No, 93. Wait. No, 92. It was 92. When I was on Central Catholic when we played Lake Catholic. He was a senior. I was a sophomore. And when I say I was there, I was like there. I didn't get in the game. But, you know, Lake Catholic whooped us. And you could tell at that point. I mean, Joe Jaravicious was 6'5", 230. You knew he was going to be something. He had a decent pro career. He was a solid. You remember Joe Jaravicious at all?
I remember him really well. And the reason I do, Joe, is because Brad Scioli, who also played for Penn State, was my roommate when I was in Indianapolis. We were in the 99 rookie class together. So I actually met Joe. I hung out with Joe, and it was all through Brad, that Penn State connection. It's funny, the football world, I'll say this, you know, you definitely get hurt here and there. Things happen for sure, but I would put my network up against anybody. I know somebody somehow, some way regarding football almost everywhere. So Joe's a great guy, had a great career. There's a guy that, you know, I was shocked by his career now that you mentioned him. You know, 6'5", 230-pound white receivers in the NFL, you know, you don't see a ton of them, right? They end up being tight ends or like specialized position guys. And so Joe went on to do it, man, and he was an inspiration. So great guy.
And a funny sidebar about Joe Jaravicious, and this is completely random, but there's this older couple that sits in front of me in my Brown season tickets. I'm in section 511. I'm in row 15. They're in row 14. I posted this lady on Facebook, so I don't give a fuck. I can say this. The guy wears a Joe Jaravicious jersey. He's an older guy. He seems to be a nice gentleman. This lady in front of me must have some kind of vendetta because every time I'm cheering, you know how you're familiar with Cleveland Browns history. Dude. It's not like we're good. So, of course, every now and then I'm going to fucking swear and say something. She looks back every time, every single time. And the funniest thing to me, Josh, was there was this guy. This is a hard right, but this is funny as fuck. There was this person at the Browns games was doing some kind of anti-abortion protest. I don't know what the fuck it was. It was random as hell. And this lady was vehemently like, "Oh, it's freedom of speech, freedom of." And I was saying to myself, like, "You son of a bitch, you bitch!" Like, no, I'm sitting here every single game, and all of a sudden, this guy just freedom of speech for Joey Edibles because I'm going to yell in your ear every single game. I love the games when they sell the tickets a little cold. It might be a little cold on the bottom, but God, when that part's not there, oh God, It's a great kid. I don't loathe many people, but my goodness, I just don't like her. I do not like her.
It sounds like she's easy to hate, Joe. It's okay.
Jesus.
Right.
Was there any random? All right, I got to calm down now. Maybe some more weed.
No, you're good.
People say I'm the only guy ever who smokes weed and gets more amped up. That's the way it goes. But was there any random awards that you won in high school and college off the top of your head that you're like, okay, I was proud of that? That was kind of cool. Besides the Big Ten second team thing.
So in college, I won most improved offensive player as a sophomore. That was a big deal because that was Coach Saban's first year. I was Chevrolet most valuable player in a couple games, which was a big deal to me. And then in high school, I won a kind of a regional Rotary Club award. That was very cool as well.
Okay, nice stuff. All right, now
I got to how do you get the Joey Edibles name?
I just make it. I love making edibles like cookies and brownies and stuff like that. And I wanted to, and I like the Sopranos, so I wanted like a mob style kind of name. Obviously, any cool mob style name, you got to end it on Y. And Joey Edibles just hit me. It just perfect. I just love it.
Well done. Well played.
All right, and I got to ask you, and this is another random ass thing here, but I got to ask you about this. Let me get this cough out real quick. Rod Woodson had a very famous one-handed grab interception back in 1997. Some argue it won him the Heisman Trophy. Now, I went back and watched that play because I was going through some pictures earlier, and I noticed something. And I watched the play, and you were nowhere near this play, but for some reason, your jerseys were right there in the shot. Now, is this like how cool is this, right?
So, listen to me when I tell you. This is a flood pattern. There's somebody that ran a route that's 5 yards shallower than where I'm at, and my quarterback's trying to throw the ball away. Okay, so Charles goes up and grabs that ball. I'm standing there, and I'm a Division I. I've never seen anything like it. He got his foot in. I remember turning to 41 to Copenhagen right there and going, holy shit, he got his foot in, dude. That's crazy. I mean, unbelievable. I definitely got posterized, but at least I did by one of the greatest of all time, right? I mean, went on.
Well, the funny thing to me is that you were nowhere near the play. You can watch the play 100 times. You're clear, but just where that guy was standing with the picture, your jersey just happened to be plastered right on there, dude. Now, have you ever walked around Ann Arbor campus just randomly at night? Because I know that picture's got to be right there on their campus. But yeah, that's me right there.
Well, I don't wear my jersey in Ann Arbor. First of all, I might get lynched, right? So they don't know my last name. That's for the best.
All right. Now, what was the vibe graduating college, getting ready for the NFL? And I got a question for you because I believe you graduated in 1997 and you got in the Colts roster in 99. So I got a conspiracy theory here. Okay. I think you were like secretly practicing voodoo or some kind of grad assistant, whatever, in the dark arts, because the number one ranked Ohio State Buckeyes lost at home in the shoe, and they were 28-point favorites that game. I
wish I would have been somehow related with betting on that game because we'd have won a lot of money.
Dude, I remember that like it was. I vividly remember this because we were I was in the air guard back then, and it was like my third year in, and we kind of like barely blew it off because it's like fucking 28-point favorites. You have smoke Michigan State,
right?
And then I just out of nowhere, you guys just came and just poked it. Now, where were you for this game?
So I was at home. So funny you asked that. So 97, my senior year, we got invited to the Aloha Bowl out in Honolulu, I believe. So we go, and it's the last practice before the bowl game. Last rep of the last practice. And I motion across the offensive set. Linebacker comes on the hot adjustment. I go to break, and it feels like somebody kicked me in the back of my foot. What ended up happening was I ruptured my Achilles tendon. So I didn't get to play in the game, obviously. And then I still got invited to the combine. I still had high hopes, and I ended up rupturing it again, like a week after the combine or 2 weeks after the combine. So I had to go down, and the guy who did Jordan's foot did my, James Andrews, I believe, down in Birmingham. And so I was out of the football loop for a year. And to be honest, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen with me. I didn't know if I was going to have a chance. But Bill Polian's son, Brian, was working for Nick Saban at MSU at the time. And my dad, thank goodness, told me to get my ass back in school and get back in the weight room and stay in shape because you never know. I was at home depressed thinking I was never going to play football again. And I got called into Coach Saban's office. It was Bill Polian. And I thought I was in trouble, to be honest, Joe. I've been hurt. I'm just in the building. Sure, Coach Saban's office. Oh shit! So I go in there, and Bill Polian's on the phone. He's like, what are you up to? I'm like, talking to you, Coach. What do you mean? So that was at like 9 a.m. that morning. They flew me down. I think at 12:30, signed me, and I was there from 99 to 01, and then ended up in Cincinnati. So, yeah, it's been an amazing, amazing opportunity and ride for me the whole way. But that's how that year, I guess, where you see I finished in 97, and then so that's why.
Okay. Now that back to that game, you were at home. Now, were you were kind of hurt, I guess. You just tear your ACL, I guess. But were you that was just, on this side of the table, watching it as an Ohio State fan, that's arguably one of the biggest upsets of all time. If Ohio State wins that game, they go undefeated, probably win the national title. You guys ruined that by 1 point. What was that? Because like Michigan State in our lifetime, at least, it's kind of been, 500 every year now and then. They'll get a season 10 win, something like that. But that was a fucking life-changing win for, arguably. What were you partying? Was there any kind of cool after story party? Like, oh yeah, we flipped over 8 cars. What was your mindset like there as a 22-year-old sitting around just watching football, waiting to get your turn?
Well, it kind of went from, oh my God, this could happen, to it happened, and where's the party at? Because I was on campus, and we'll just say that campus was really fun that night. And when the players got back, it just escalated from there. So yeah, I can't really confirm or deny, but there may have been a couple cars flipped over and couches burned. But like I said, I'm not real sure. So yeah, but that's where I was at. I was on campus. I was actually on crutches, trying not to hurt myself more and celebrate at the same time. You know how that goes.
All right, we got a random question from our UK contingent. I don't even know you could probably expand on this question if you want, Doof, but he asks, what are your thoughts on OJ? As a football, I'll give you my thoughts on OJ. As a runner, it was a little bit before mine and Josh's time, but his stats were transcendent. It was a different style of season back then. They only played 14 games and whatnot, but coming out of USC, he was a great runner. In the pros, he was a phenomenal runner, top 5 there for a while. As a human being, everybody knows it. He might be being sarcastic, but what are your thoughts on OJ as a runner? We didn't really watch him live, but what's your take there?
Amazing talent and deserves, respect in that regard altogether, no doubt about it. On the personal side of things and how life ended up going down for him, I guess who am I to judge, Joe? But it certainly didn't look pretty, at least the parts that were shared with the public, right? So,
do you,
hey.
Now, do you remember where you were that night, June 19th, 94? And I only remember that date because that June 19th is just a wild date in history when you think about it. It was the day of the OJ trial. Now it's a holiday. Now it's Juneteenth. That's the day the Cavs first won the title in ever, June 19th, 2016. So
I definitely remember all of that. Absolutely. I was in my buddy's basement when it happened. Yeah, we were watching it on the TV for sure.
Hell yeah. All right. You signed in 99, right? And then you go to camp. Did you go to camp that year in 99?
Yes.
All right. So you're breaking camp with Edger and James, rookie Edger and James. They just traded Marshall Faulk.
Yep.
What a hard ride that was. They traded Marshall Faulk and luck into Edger and James.
A lot of people were not happy about that.
Oh my goodness. It worked out great though. And then you got the great Peyton Manning when you get to camp. Now, did you in camp I would assume I'll get to what you did in a second, but in camp, did you get to catch any passes from him on any kind of 7-on-7s or anything like that? What was your interaction with Peyton?
First of all, Peyton's an amazing human being and was a great friend to me when I was there. He's as blue collar and down to earth as they come. What we see online and on TV, his personality pretty much is that all the time. I guess the best way to sum it up is if the three of us were sitting at a bar drinking beer and you didn't know who Peyton was, you wouldn't know who Peyton was. And that's a testament to him and how he was raised. His whole family is a class act. But yes, I got to, in turn, I got to catch a lot of balls from Peyton, a couple in the preseason. I also was blessed to play with Marvin Harrison, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. That name's ringing bells right now. Marvin was an amazing talent. And I was blessed to be around all of those guys, really. Just a great ride, a lot of fun. I was around some great tight ends, Kenny Dilger, Marcus Pollard, Brad Banna, again, who I mentioned earlier. So I had some great mentors that took me in, and just getting to live that lifestyle. You know, I tell people, live like a rock star for a few years and see how that is, and live my boyhood dream was amazing. And Peyton was a big part of that because, like I told you, he's very down to earth, blue collar, and I like to think I'm the same. So we kind of saw eye to eye that way, and ended up out at the bar a lot together. So he's a lot of fun, man, and I had a lot of fun with him.
That's good. It reminds me of a Marvin Harrison story. Yeah, this is another hard right, but we were 2017. Me, Hernan, and another buddy went down to Philadelphia for the draft. And for those who don't know, in the UK, every year the NFL draft is in. You guys just saw me in Detroit. If you look at this one picture right here,
I was there too.
I was in that crowd. Are you up to the Detroit draft?
I was there. Yeah.
Oh, were you there the Friday? I was there on the Friday.
Yeah, the night that the concert, whatever night the concert was.
Okay. Good shit. Well, but fuck, we were just hanging out. We didn't even know it. Yeah, but we were there in Philly for the draft in 2017, and we were just, Philly is a weird city. Like, the tourist areas are good, but Philly's not exactly like unhood.
Oh no, it's not. Especially North Philly. Yikes.
So we were at some random spot. We just typed in sports bars near me, and we just walked to the nearest one. And we were, still smacking the hood. We were looking around, and there's a bunch of cold shit in the wall. And this random lady goes, "You know where you are, don't you?" I was like, "No." She's like, "You're at Marvin Harrison's bar." We looked around. Sure enough, the Super Bowl trophy was up there. Fuck, all kinds of Harrison jerseys and shit. So whatever the name of Marvin Harrison's bar is in Philadelphia, we were there in 2017. And
nice.
This, I got to show the picture of camp here. Hold on. This made me laugh. That's 2000. This is the year 2000. Yep. We were there just hanging out. Now on something like that, is it like high school? Do they take 5 different pictures and they get the best one, or is it just one?
Yeah, and they didn't get the best one of me, but hey, I'm still in it.
I think I zoomed up on it. Let me see if we can get the zoom up one.
Rocking the flat top, man. The good old days.
Oh my goodness. Wait, hold on. I gotta find the zoom up. Hold on. Give me 1 sec. I thought I had it on here. It was a couple weeks ago because I got that picture. I'm not worried about it. All right. Let me get back to us. All right. Now, when you're in training camp like that, you call it like living like a rock star. Do you feel like a piece of meat? I mean, do you like, obviously you're not guaranteed to make the team. In college, you get like a scholarship. You pretty much know what you're getting there. Is that a different vibe in the NFL? What's the take there?
I mean, sure, it feels a little bit different, yes, because you certainly have the haves and have-nots, and even the rookies, don't get me wrong, are making great money, right? But comparatively to the starting quarterbacks, the starting receivers, you're not making any money. So there's definitely some dynamics there that can be challenging, but overall, again, it was a really great experience, and I didn't have any issues that way.
Was the exercise regimen, working out, was that a lot rougher in the college, or was it the same in pros? What was the deal?
Difference is in the pros, you're trying to stay healthy.
Okay.
In college, you're trying to lift big weights. You're trying to, hit the numbers and prove yourself, so to say, or so to speak. Once you make it to the league and you get through camp, especially, now we're talking about keeping guys healthy and as a practice squad guy, being good enough to give them a good look so that they're ready for Sunday. So it's a different, more of a business mindset. And for me anyway, it was awesome. Like, it was kind of a freeing feeling because, like you just mentioned, in college, they got you, right? I mean, you are going to be there for 50, 60 hours a week. You are going to do X, Y, and Z, and you do not have a choice, or at least in my day, you didn't. In the NFL, man, I just felt blessed to be there. I had a completely different perspective on everything. I signed every autograph I could. I was appreciative for the practice squad money I made. And, so it was all good for me.
Now, did you see any regular season action? Like, were you a special teamer? How did that work?
I was active for a couple teams or a couple games on special teams. I played in almost all of the preseason games. As a matter of fact, for 3 preseason games, I got moved to right tackle and went from 265 to 305 for a few games. That was interesting. My body hated me, but it was fun getting there, eating everything and drinking beer to gain weight, right? I didn't see live action. I was on the sidelines dressed, so I was as close, I guess, as you could get without actually getting in. But did run down on kickoff return, punt return, all that stuff. That's another thing about the NFL. You're a specialized position player in college. In the league, you're doing everything you can to play every special team. I mean, I taught myself how to long snap, trying to hang on longer. So your perspective on special teams quickly changes as well. That's
now. So in college, you didn't really do much special teams, right? You're pretty much just always on offense. Then in the pros, did you? So I mean, learning special teams isn't much. You're a wedge buster, whatever you run down. But I mean, was there any? You said you taught yourself long snap and all that. Were you just kind of learning anything you could to stay in a roster at that point, or what was going on there?
Just fighting to make myself as valuable as I could to the team. I knew that we had a great long snapper, so I knew I could learn from him. And if I could even get close to him, that another team might, sign me as a backup, maybe not as the starting long snapper. And that was part of the reason I got signed by Cincinnati for the last season, was because I could snap a little bit. So ended up benefiting me and for at least one more season.
Okay. And this is another random ass thing, but I remember this guy named Drew Haddad, and he had to have played with you guys in 99 or 2000. Do you remember that name?
I do. Yeah. I can't picture his face, but I do remember that name.
He came from Cleveland. The only reason I remember this is because
position, Joe.
He was a wideout. Okay,
Yep. I know who you're talking about. Okay.
And the only reason I remember this is because I was going to my fantasy draft in the year 2000. And I was listening to a preseason game, and Drew caught 2 touchdowns in that game. And I was like, fuck, this is going to be a good sleeper, because he got Manning at quarterback, you know what I mean? And I said the name of the draft. We had an auction league, and the one guy who was there coached him in high school. And me and my buddy Hernan, who's always over here, we always joke. He's like, say Drew's name so he can say that coaching thing. He always forgets that we say it. And every time we say it, he's like, oh yeah, I coached him in high school. Makes us laugh every time, dude. It was great. Now, what is the coolest thing about being a former NFL player? Do you get is there any kind of card or a secret ring or anything? Or because only 30,000 that ever existed. And I mean, who knows how many are still alive now? Probably 20 or so. What's the coolest benefit in your opinion about being a former NFLer? Is it just showing the jersey, be like, this is mine, bro?
That's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all about that, as you see in the background here. But the NFLPA takes care of us in the sense of, like I was just mentioning, the draft. They have what they call the Legends community, which is you're referencing, former players. That's what they call us. So every NFL event has an attached Legends event. So every game, there's a Legends suite. At the draft, there's a Legends suite. At the combine, there's a Legends suite. So, and they'll allow us to take, like in some cases, a +1, +5 for the combine, etc. So being able to share that, my son is a freshman now, and is on a trajectory to hopefully play beyond high school. And so be able to share that with him and show him some of the stuff, and he can see in person some of the kids working out that are entering the combine, that's really cool. Some of my high school friends who, like I mentioned earlier, have supported me all the way through. I try to make sure that they're part of that. My brother-in-law as well has been really supportive of me. And so anyway, that's probably the coolest thing, are the Legends events. When I was playing, we had a card, and that was I wore that card out, Joe, everywhere we went. If there was a line or anything, I was like the FBI with that thing, flashing it everywhere, bro.
So you got a boy, and he's 14 now, I'm assuming, because he's going to high school, you said. Because my son's 4. I got a 14-year-old son myself. So he's going to play. What does he play, and what's his stats? What do you think he's going to play in high school?
So he's a young freshman. He just finished up his freshman year as a fullback.
Okay.
Now, we just got out of school and we went to a few camps and showcases, and he's worked out as a tight end. So he's kind of a fullback tight end hybrid. Other side of the ball, he's probably a linebacker or a DN. So he's built like me. He's working hard, and hopefully he'll get an opportunity if he stays motivated to do that. So
cool.
Yeah, I also have a 12-year-old son who plays as well, and then 4 older daughters. So,
jeez, boy,
I got a basketball team and a sub ready to go at all times in the house. I'm ready.
I got 3, and I got a couple of grandkids out there, so it's 5 total, I guess.
There you go.
It's fun being a dad, man. And happy Father's Day to you and everybody out there this weekend. It's obviously Sunday, but definitely, man, appreciate the fathers and father figures in your life this weekend, man. We're most men are kind of underappreciated. We gotta be real. So, take time out just to give a quick, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing to, those kind of people. Even if, you don't talk to them, I'd be like, yo, happy Father's Day, buddy. And they'll be like, to you too, man. And then next thing you know, maybe you're smoking weed with them next week.
That's right.
All right. Hell yeah. Are we
Yeah,
gonna question?
I did definitely talk to Madden. When I was in Indy, he came down, I believe, for a Monday night game and drove the bus and everything. Tell you what, I was shocked by how tall John was, at least 6'7". Huge human being. Good guy, though.
Okay. Good old man. The turducken. That's great. Oh, how
man.
cool would that have been to fucking eat one of those turkey legs on Thanksgiving, right? How cool that I think that
no doubt.
All right. So what was the moment that you knew that it was time to give up on pro football? Were you injured or you just couldn't make a roster spot? What was the deal there?
Yeah, I got cut from Cincinnati. And once I did, about the time I got released, I think I had my 13th surgery. And it was just to remove bone chips and repair a tendon. But it was still my 13th surgery. I was 20, going on 26, and, dealing with arthritis and all the good stuff that comes with, this part of life in football. But, that's kind of how I went out. I had an opportunity I was approached by some indoor arena teams and semi-pro, and I wasn't going to be that dude, man. I couldn't do it. Not for $200 a game. I couldn't see myself doing that. So I had to walk out with my head high and a little bit of respect left.
Well, that's good that you did it young and you didn't, because there's people I've studied over the years and I've seen other guys are playing, I won the AFL 2 championship. It's like, it's awesome. But I mean, you probably only made $800 for the year. It's not really, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But some guys, it's something that propels them to a higher level of football. And if that's the case, I support it all day, every day. But
for sure.
It just wasn't for me. I was done.
All right. So it looks right after the NFL, you went into sales and then you became a corrections officer. Now, how the hell did you come to choose this in life?
It was juvenile detention is what I started in. And I went into that environment, and I've said for a lot of years, if not for football, it may have been military for me. And I kind of believe that they mirror each other as far as the schedule, accountability, all of those things, right? So when I went in and I got a job, I was essentially a youth corrections officer. And I found myself, while everyone was running from the troubled kids, running to them. I saw myself as them if I didn't have the game of football and sports in general and all the amazing people in my life that supported me. They say it takes a village. It did for me. I have amazing parents, but there's so many other people that helped influence me. And so I don't know, man, I just kind of found a heart for those kids and it stuck. I ended up doing that for 4 or 5 years before I was transferred into working then with adults. And I flipped more to the employment side. Now, coincidentally, I was working with those same kids who are now adults trying to get them jobs, right? But I really enjoy that. I coach, as I mentioned earlier, and professionally, it gives me an opportunity to do that with folks as well. So I love building people up, teaching them how to use their resources.
Did you get a different view on life after seeing how it is at correctional facilities?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of things that are glorified and portrayed in the media that are just so wrong and false. And yeah, it definitely changes the way you look at the world because, you're underexposed to the world. I say that a lot. And so going into that environment and being exposed to it certainly opens your eyes and changes some of your views for sure.
Okay. And after that, you go into coaching. Was coaching something you kind of secretly wanted to do all along? They just kind of, your life just veered you towards it in a randomly weird way?
I always loved sports, but when I got out of football, back to the redneck stuff, I was so excited to be able to hunt and fish and not have obligations in the fall, right? That was the only good thing about being done with football that I could really come up with was that I could go hunt and fish and I didn't have to worry about whatever. So I actually, and I'll be transparent, I was a little depressed to be out of the game. It was hard when the fall would roll around. So the woods was my therapy and hunting was my therapy. And it happened it was just a coincidence. I had a brother I call him my brother, my high school teammate who was coaching at my alma mater. He was also working with me at the county and he approached me and said, "Hey, come have lunch with me and this guy who coaches." Like, all right, but I'm busy. I can't coach. Okay. So I go have lunch. And next thing you know, I get drug out to a practice, and I think they both knew if they got me to the practice that it would stick, and it did. So I ended up being there for 5 or 6 years at my alma mater, and then now we moved, and I'm over here at Wayland. So I love it. I was born to do it, and I'm passionate about it now for sure. So I didn't know, though. I wasn't really like hell bent to be a coach. I didn't have in my mind that I was going to be, but I certainly love it.
Now, is it true that you coach volleyball, and how the hell did you get into volleyball?
Funny. So how did I get into volleyball? Well, growing up on the big lake, there was a lot of beach volleyball in West Michigan, and I dated a volleyball player in high school, and she had a sand court in her backyard, and we played a lot in high school, just, goofing around. And somebody someday said, "Hey, Josh, do you want to play men's doubles?" And I said yes, because of course I just liked to compete and play. So I didn't know even what I was really getting myself into, Joe. And I went and played in a league, men's league, and I just fell in love with volleyball. I played a lot when I was all the way through high school. I actually attribute some of my athleticism to volleyball and playing in the sand and moving around and doing all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, it transitioned because my then wife was an ex-volleyball player and took a coaching job, and then she talked me into being the strength and conditioning guy. And so same thing with the football thing. Once I got in there and I got in the gym and I just started seeing the game again, I ended up being the head coach myself at the end. And yeah, I had a lot of success. We made it to regional finals. It's a lot of fun. My oldest daughter actually played for me, so I was blessed to have that experience as well.
Okay, now being a coach, do you have to be like a role model and live up to some standard, or can you, still go out there and freaking party, like the old 90s cool Josh, or what's the deal there, man?
Well, I think that there has to be some standards in life that we all live up to. That being said, I am who I am, and anybody who knows me and loves me, or I coach and love their children, knows that, they are my priority, and that I would never do anything intentionally to put that at risk. That being said, I still have a good time. I definitely enjoy my off time with my fellow coaches and my buddies. We just try to do it safe. So yeah, definitely.
Good deal, man. All right, when was the last time you were invited back to be on campus, and how often do you go to the games?
I was invited to be back on campus just recently because my son attended the MSU football prospect camp. Prior to that, my 17-year-old daughter got accepted in Michigan State, so she's going to attend, and we went over and took a tour of campus and did all of those things. And the football building, the staff there took us in and gave us a private tour of the new facilities. So they're very accommodating. They definitely take care of us. They make me feel really good about myself when I go back over to East Lansing. And I love sharing that with my family and getting back over. So I try to make 4 games a year, it depends on the schedule and what's going on. I mean,
right. College games can be very snooze-like. And I went to Kent State, and I'm, pseudo Ohio State fan, maybe on the fringe Notre Dame. But I mean, you watch these games. I mean, 10 games or more, I know Ohio State's going to win by 30. It's just like, it ain't worth my time.
Well,
I watch the first quarter, half, and then after that, just, go somewhere else because, I'm bored because they're the second string guys in there. You know what I mean? So that's the downside of college football. Well, that brings me to an awesome random question. This new playoff system we got going in college football. I'm personally a fan. I mean, they've been doing it in the lower divisions forever. And I mean, all these bowl games, I mean, who the fuck cares who wins the Meineke Car Care Bowl, et cetera? Right. No offense to Meineke.
It's just what it is. It's not
it's just sponsor. Yeah. So what's your take on the new playoffs, brother?
I love it. I don't think that I think they should do more than 12. Why do we love March Madness? I'm a huge fan of it because anybody can win at any time, right? And I think that just takes out all the other bullshit too, as far as the committee and people making errors with whom they place in, and is there bias because of the SEC bias or the Big Ten, whatever it is. It would eliminate some of those arguments because you can include more people, and if you lose head to head, it is what it is. I mean, you can cry about officials, but I think it's a good thing for the game. I think it's a good thing for college football. I think they'll make more money. I think it would give more kids an opportunity to display their talents that are trying to play, at the next level. And you'll get more kids that'll participate because the money deal will be better, right? I mean, like you said, the Chick-fil-A Bowl is cute, and I love Chick-fil-A, but if I'm an NFL stock kind of guy, I'm projected to go first through third round. Why would I play in that bowl game and hurt myself, especially if I'm already projected to be that? So, you look at it from a business standpoint, which unfortunately in some cases that's what college football's become. I think they got to do it. So I think it's a great move for college football.
All right, this is a random question, but it says, are the rumors true? Do you have to be mentally nuts to play for the Patriots?
Well, I think if you look at any great coach, leader, there's some sort of insanity affiliated with said leader or great coach, whether it's Nick Saban, whether it's Bill Belichick. I think you have to know what you're getting into. You're around a football savant in Bill Belichick, if that's what you're referencing there, Shredda. Like, the guy's so intelligent that, he can come off as condescending or as though he's being a little rough around the edges. But in fact, he's just so much smarter than us that's the way it's interpreted by us. So I don't think you have to be mentally nuts to play for the Patriots. It can be a challenge living out there, but if you're referencing Belichick, no, I don't think so.
Man, Belichick takes me back, dude, because I remember, obviously, before the Browns left, he was a coach and the radio, and then he played for I think he was going to coach the Jets for a little bit. And it was like, when he first played, it was sucky. And they had Vinny Testaverde on there. And they used to jokingly say, intercept Verdi and Belichick. And boy, how those comments just aged horribly. And seeing how, not Vinny's, whatever, but seeing how Belichick did it. Isn't it wild that Belichick didn't get another job, huh? And he's going on to the sunset. Do you think that's just a new, in the NFL, they just want to get young blood in there. They don't really want these, dinosaur offenses, so to speak. What's your take on that? Why Belichick didn't get a job?
My guess is he doesn't really want one. I think there's more of that than anybody running him off. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't care what the, trend in the NFL is with coaches. If I'm a GM and Bill Belichick comes and sits in my office, we're going to interview that guy again, right? Like, he's going to be in my top 3, whether everybody else looks young and sexy or not. He's coming back. He's proven. So I personally believe there's more to that, and he is just picking and choosing. Maybe not.
All right. What was the first car you drove, the favorite car you drove, and what do you drive now?
First car, 78 Chevy Malibu Classic 2-door. It was like split pea soup green. Favorite car would have been my rookie year. I bought a Suburban all loaded up with all the cool bells and whistles, right? And what do I drive now? I drive a 99 Chevy Silverado. So payment is 0, and I like that payment.
Let's see here. Oh, we got a question coming in via Twitter from the captain in Northern Ireland. He's saying, should the NFL draft system be scrapped and the NFL go completely free market? I'm assuming he's like referring to how like Premier League soccer doesn't shit like that. What is your take on something like that, to where they kind of do it how college does? If you just get rid of the draft, that would kind of eliminate tanking, you would think. I mean, what would that system result in? What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting concept, and I definitely believe that it's a concept that could be implemented and would work. I believe there's too much money and too many strings tied to that money at this point for that to happen. I don't know that would happen for those reasons.
It would be wild, though. I mean, imagine open bidder on everybody coming out under a salary cap. Like Caleb Williams comes out, for example, and then, the Bears like, 80 million, and the Giants are like, 90 million. And that'd be interesting. It's intriguing. I don't know.
It would be interesting. It would. I don't know from a fan's perspective that it would end up giving us what we wanted, though, because why? We can't keep our teams together then if it's free market and everybody's constantly bidding. And so I don't know. Also, then, can you speak to the quality of the play? Like, if there's something to be said that if you and I are on the team together and we're quarterback receiver and we're together for 3 years, we're going to be better than a first-year duo, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question and thought, and I think it could happen. I don't know that it will.
And it's like it just I don't know. Yeah, it sounds cool, but I mean, at the end of the day, I study that Premier League, and that concept of that permeating to the NFL scares me as a Browns fan. I mean, I don't want to play in some subpar league after we build a new dome or something. Fuck that shit.
Right.
All right. This is a random one. What kind of dish soap do you use?
Dawn, the blue Dawn, all day, every day.
Nice. I like Dawn too because you can get rid of fleas off of pets. If you ever get a flea, just give them a bath in Dawn. Them fuckers are dead, bro. They're
Cheap.
dead.
Works.
All right, we're getting close to the end, but this is one of the most famous questions we ask on the show. Beatles or Queen, who would you pick out of those two bands?
Queen.
Okay, you're gonna get some props for that. That's usually the most favorite answer.
I'm gonna go. I'm not hating on the Beatles, but Queen was played more in my household, and so I by nature more of a fan.
All right, and this one I have no clue. I didn't no clue who this guy is, but are you related to this guy? His name is Keur. He's a regional editor for NPR News in Minneapolis.
No, that would be cool, but no, it's because my name is spelled Keur.
Oh yeah, good point, dude. Why'd you make me say that? I feel like maybe
commonly pronounced cure. The U is silent, so yeah,
okay.
that's the Dutch in me, I guess. That U.
All right, nice. Now, how did the shutdowns affect what you did with coaching, and how did you pass the time to do it? And are you glad? Obviously, you got to be glad that we're out of it because you're a people person just like me. But how did, you were probably on one trajectory and then, took a hard right because coaching and football obviously were shut down. A lot of contact was shut down. Was that like a real life annoyance to you? The masking and the vaxxing and the nose swabs and all this bullshit. How did that change you? And did you learn any lessons, come out better as of that? What do you think?
Well, I think we all did, Joe. I think we realized that we can do a lot of things. We can provide a lot of services remotely in a quality fashion that benefit folks. And so we can be more efficient with things. From a football standpoint, at first it was like, right? We were scared to death. We didn't know what the heck we were going to do. And we kind of took a rebellious stance on the whole thing. And we talked to all the parents and we said, listen, here's the story. We all are on board with the fact that whether you did or didn't get a shot, it's the flu. And if everybody's okay with it, we're going to push forward. And so we did that. And you know what happened? We kept hitting every day. They weren't in school. They couldn't go to school and sit in a classroom, but they were at football practice and nobody got COVID. So it worked out for us. I think that reaction kind of says everything that I think about COVID and all of that BS. I mean, was it a pain in my butt? Oh my goodness, yes. Especially with this many kids in my house and the constant testing and then the quarantining and you're trying to keep track of which days, what the hell? Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. I learned that I won't listen to the government unless I have to. That's for damn sure.
The contract tracing, remember that bullshit?
Goodness gracious. I'm not kidding you. I get a letter every day. Every single day. I couldn't even keep track of it.
God, it seems like it was 15 years ago. That was just a little bit ago.
God, it's wild,
right? That's crazy. All right. Do you have anything else to promote, and how do people get a hold of you?
Do I have anything to promote? I don't necessarily have anything to promote. How do people get a hold of me? I'm all over social media, MSUTE83 on Twitter, on Instagram, Josh Keur on Facebook. Hit me up. I'm also MSUTE83 on Snapchat as well. So if anybody has any questions or wants to connect, feel free. I will give a plug to my buddy's company, Jay Saylor Gorilla Punch. They have a product that's out. And if you're a football coach, especially an offensive line, defensive line football coach, check them out. Gorilla Punch. They are the real deal and catching on in the coaching world. So that's the only plug I can think of.
All right, we got 3 more questions we'll get out here. It says, will you auction? You have to, if Shred, if you're still in the chat and we need an explanation on this, let me know. It says, will you auction off anything to the Kings of Collection, aka Gold Collection? It's on Netflix, based out of New York. Are you familiar with this? And I don't know.
Coach me, coach. What are we talking about?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It sounds like it's some kind of memorabilia thing. I don't know. All right, here's one.
I'd be open to it. Let me know. I'd be game. Let me know if you get.
Here's one from Paul. He's out of Buffalo. He's a big Bills fan. I'm a big Browns fan, obviously. So he wants to poke the bear with this. In your opinion, who wins the Super Bowl first, the Browns or the Bills? And I'll add the Lions into that. Out of those 3 teams, actually, I'll add the Bengals into that too. I'll add those 4 because it's the fucking Lake Erie Basin shit squad. Out of the Detroit, Bills, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, who wins the Super Bowl first?
Lions.
Lions, nice. All right,
Bills
back to your
next.
Paul's question though.
Bills
The
after
Paul's
that, Paul. I'll talk a little shit for you. Bills before the Browns. How about that?
They probably I mean, if you're looking at just quarterback talent and overall talent, Bills probably, but man, the Browns got a good defense this year. Fuck,
Absolutely.
the Browns got a good defense.
Absolutely, yeah. You never know.
Oh, amazing.
Hopefully
All right,
I'm
and
wrong.
last question from Thrasher: and I'll expound on this. Did murder hornets or any other kind of bees ever prevent you from practicing? And as a corollary to that, do you have any bee stories in your life?
The only bee story I can think of is crashing my dirt bike on top of a ground hive and getting my ass stung about 30 times before I could get up. Murder hornets never kept me from practice. No, that did not happen.
Oh, we got one more. Here, this is a good one because you're a diehard Michigan State fan, and I'm a pretty good Ohio State fan. What was more aggravating, the lockdowns or that school up north winning a national title?
Well, I'm going to have to hear about both the rest of my life regardless, Troy. So I'm going to go with that school down the road winning a natty over COVID even.
If Ohio State didn't win in 14, that was a great year, man. That was a fun time, Cardell Jones and all that. But if Ohio State win, then I would say that. But I mean, I'm not as much. Josh is probably more Ohio State or more a college football fan than I am. I like college football. I'm not more of a pro guy. But I mean, for me, it would definitely be the lockdowns. It was I mean, because we used to go in the office and have fun parties and shit like that. And now it's just like going to the office and there's like one guy way the fuck down there, and you know, like,
you didn't even go in the office. I was remote. Everybody was. So yeah, it was wild.
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Josh Keur for coming out, bro. It's been an honor. This is fun as hell. If you got any references, you got any buddies you think you'd be on the show, man, drop my way. You know how it is, brother. And join us on Juneteenth. We're going to have an all-day smoke session because I'm off work, and I'm going to go to Michigan tomorrow. I'll go up to Monroe and get some weed, maybe Saturday, Sunday, and then we're going to have a party on Juneteenth. So join us then, guys. And thanks for coming out. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. And